My name's Alex, and to say my family has been complicated is an understatement. We've always had this unspoken tension that nobody really talks about, but everyone feels. If you've ever been part of a family where things seem normal on the surface, but you just know something's off, you'll understand. We're not poor, but we're not rich either. My parents did all right for themselves, and I guess I followed in their footsteps. Got a decent job, living paycheck to paycheck, but managing to save a little here and there. But my cousin Danny, he's a different story. We grew up together, but we've never really gotten along. He's always had this sense of entitlement, like the world owes him something. As kids, it wasn't as obvious. But as we got older, it started to show more and more. His behavior towards me, especially, has always been, well, let's just say less than friendly. The way he looks at me sometimes, it's like he can't stand that I'm doing okay. I remember a few years ago, he was venting to me about how he was struggling while driving around in a brand new car his parents bought him. When I brought up that I was doing just fine despite not having anything handed to me, he got defensive. Fast forward to today, and I'm sitting at a family dinner, trying to hold it together. This gathering, like most others, is an excuse for my relatives to pretend everything's fine. We meet at my aunt's house, a little suburban home with a white picket fence, but everything's tense inside. My aunt, uncle, and cousins are there, as usual. The air is thick with forced conversation and awkward smiles. My cousin Danny, of course, is in the middle of it all, talking loud enough that everyone can hear him, but never actually saying anything worth listening to. He's always the loudest person in the room, whether he's bragging about some new gadget he bought or telling the same joke for the 100th time. I just sit there, nodding, trying to get through the night. As usual, no one talks about the real stuff. No one brings up the fact that Danny thinks he's entitled to everything just because we're family. And yet, there I am, the black sheep, trying to avoid confrontation while everyone else pretends everything is fine. Then the conversation shifts. My aunt asks me how work is going. I don't mind it. Work's fine. I tell her it's steady, and she nods like it's the most interesting thing anyone could have said. I know she's trying to make small talk, but it's clear that no one really cares about the details. That's when Danny starts. He looks over at me with that smug grin of his, and I know immediately that something's coming. So, Alex, he says, tapping his fork against his plate, how's the job? Making good money now? You always seemed like the type who'd do well for yourself. He says it like he's genuinely curious, but I know better. He's sizing me up, trying to figure out how much money I'm making. I don't answer right away. I know he's fishing. Oh, you know, I reply casually, just the usual. Working, saving up a bit here and there. Nothing too crazy. I keep it vague, watching him closely. I can tell he's not satisfied with that. He leans in, his voice dropping just enough for only the people closest to him to hear. Yeah, well, you've got that nice little chunk of change now, huh? Must be nice, he says, smirking. I don't know if he thinks I won't notice, but I catch the edge in his voice. The unspoken challenge. I've been thinking about getting a new car, he continues, his eyes glinting. But, you know, with the way things are, I'm kind of short on cash. You know how it is, right? He lets that hang in the air, waiting for me to bite. I don't take the bait. Instead, I just take a slow sip of my drink, pretending not to notice his not-so-subtle jabs. It's like he thinks I'm too dumb to see what he's doing. He's fishing for a compliment, trying to make me feel guilty that I'm doing better than him. Oh yeah, I ask, keeping my voice light. Well, you'll figure it out, I'm sure. That's when he presses. I mean, come on, we're family, right? Danny leans in even more, dropping his voice to a near whisper, though it's loud enough for everyone at the table to hear. You know, family helps each other out. I was thinking, maybe you could spot me a bit of cash. Just enough to get that car. I know it's not a huge ask. After all, you've got it pretty good now. He pauses, looking at me like I'm supposed to be grateful for his request. My mind starts racing. This isn't the first time he's asked for money, and it probably won't be the last. But this time, it feels different. He's not just asking for help. He's trying to manipulate me into feeling like I owe him. I feel my pulse pick up a bit, but I stay calm. I don't know, man. I say, my voice steady. I'm not really in the position to be handing out cash right now. I can see the flicker of annoyance in his eyes, but he hides it quickly, flashing a forced grin. Come on, Alex. It's just family helping out family, right? His voice is smooth now, trying to sound casual, but I can see through it. Everyone at the table is watching, but no one's saying anything. I can feel the pressure building. I'm about to snap, but then I remember something. Something that's been eating at me for months. Something that's going to make his whole act crumble. Slowly, I reach into my pocket and pull out my phone. I tap a few times, scrolling through a conversation. The tension at the table is almost unbearable as Danny watches me, unsure of what I'm doing. I look up at him, a small smile forming on my face. "You want to talk about family helping each other out, huh?" I say, my voice calm but sharp. I swipe the screen and show him the message. "Then explain this." The room goes dead silent. I can feel the eyes of everyone at the table burning into me, but I don't look away from Danny's face. I keep my finger on the screen of my phone, holding it just high enough for him to see. His smirk falters, and I watch his eyes shift from my face to the phone, his expression slowly changing from smug confidence to disbelief. For a brief moment, his lips twitch, like he's trying to come up with something to say, but the words don't come. And that's when I drop the bomb. I pull up the screenshot. It's a text message from a few months ago, one I had almost forgotten about until recently. A message from one of my friends, someone who was clearly fed up with Danny's behavior. The message reads, "Danny's been talking trash about you again. Told everyone you're just a broke loser who's lucky to have a job." Beneath that, there's another message, a bit more cutting. He says you're not even worth asking for help. But hey, I guess he'll only talk to you when he needs something. I watch as Danny's face goes from pale to completely drained of color. I don't even need to say anything. The text says it all. My cousin stammers, trying to keep his cool, but it's clear that he's not sure what to do. He clears his throat, his voice shaky. "Hey Alex, that's not." He cuts himself off when he realizes there's nothing he can say that will make this go away. The room remains silent, except for the quiet hum of the air conditioning and the faint clink of silverware on plates. Everyone is looking between us, and I can see the uncertainty in their eyes. No one has said a word yet. My aunt, who's usually the peacemaker in the family, glances at Danny, then at me, her face tight with confusion. It's obvious she has no idea what's going on, and I can see her trying to piece together the situation in her head. Danny, still trying to save face, forces out a weak laugh. "Look, it's not what it looks like, okay? But he doesn't finish. His voice falters as he looks at the phone screen again, like he's finally starting to process how badly he's been caught. He shifts uncomfortably in his seat, his eyes flicking around the table. His expression is a mix of embarrassment and frustration, but I'm not letting him off the hook. "That's funny," I say, not bothering to hide the sarcasm in my voice. "I didn't realize family talked behind each other's backs like that. But hey, maybe I'm just overreacting, right?" I let the silence stretch for a few more seconds, watching Danny squirm under the weight of his own lies. I don't even have to look at anyone else. I know that they're all thinking the same thing. The worst part? My aunt is starting to piece it together. She looks between us and then at Danny, her face slowly changing from confusion to concern. "Danny, what is this?" she asks softly. "What's going on?" I don't answer for him. I just let the silence hang in the air, letting the truth settle. Danny opens his mouth again, trying to speak, but no words come out. He's running out of excuses, and everyone at the table is starting to see him for what he really is. The smug, entitled attitude he's carried for years is starting to crack, and for the first time, I'm not the one in the hot seat. But then, just as I think I've got the upper hand, my uncle speaks up. All right, let's just calm down. Everyone's a little on edge, okay," he says, trying to defuse the situation, but I can see it in his eyes. He doesn't really believe Danny, not anymore. There's something in the way he glances at me now, like he's trying to figure out whether this is a family problem or if it's deeper than that. Danny, sensing the shift, looks to my uncle for backup. "Dad, this is ridiculous," he mutters. "Alex is just trying to make me look bad in front of everyone. I was just asking for some help, like any family would. This is blown way out of proportion." He's scrambling now, trying to manipulate the situation, but it's too late. The cracks are starting to show. I stand up, placing my phone face down on the table. "I'm done with this conversation. I'm not making you look bad, Danny," I say coldly. "You're doing that all on your own." I turn to my aunt and uncle, my voice steady. "You want to know what kind of family helps each other out? A family that doesn't talk behind each other's backs, a family that doesn't manipulate each other when they're in need. That's the kind of family I thought we were." Danny's face is burning red now, and I'm sure he's regretting ever trying to pull this stunt. I can see it in his eyes, that moment when he realized I wasn't going to back down, when he realized this time he wasn't going to get away with it. He shifts uneasily in his chair, unable to look anyone in the eye. And just before the tension reaches its peak, I make my move. You want money so badly? I say, my voice cutting through the silence. Then explain this. I reach for my phone again, ready to show him exactly what I've been holding back. But I'm not showing him just another screenshot. This time, I'm pulling up something else, something that'll be the final nail in his coffin. I slide my phone across the table, face up, the screen glaring in the dim light of the dining room. The weight of the moment is palpable, and I can feel the tension growing thicker with every second. Everyone is holding their breath, waiting for the next move, even Danny, who looks like he's seen a ghost. I let the phone rest on the table, not saying a word. The text message on the screen is loud and clear. It's a message Danny had sent to one of his friends a week ago. Can you believe Alex actually thinks he's better than me? This guy gets a little bit of money and acts like he's some big shot. I wouldn't trust him with $1, let alone give him any help. I'll just keep playing the victim card. Family will always come through when you need it. The words hang in the air like a slap. Everyone stares at it, the silence suffocating. Even my uncle, who's usually the peacekeeper, sits back in his chair, eyes wide, not sure how to process this. My aunt's face is a mix of disbelief and shock, her hand trembling slightly as she reaches for her wine glass. Danny's face turns ghostly pale, his hand shaking as he reaches out to grab the phone, but I pull it away just in time. You want to keep pretending you're the victim, Danny? I ask, my voice steady, but there's a coldness to it now that cuts through the room. You want to keep playing the family card? Or should we talk about how you've been trash-talking me behind my back, calling me a loser to your friends while trying to suck up to everyone else when you need something? The blood drains from his face. His lips part, but no words come out. His entire posture is deflated, his usual arrogance gone, replaced by something I haven't seen in years, vulnerability. And I can tell by the way his eyes dart around the table that he knows he's lost this round. The room is dead silent now, save for the soft clinking of my aunt's glass as she sets it back down with a shaky hand. My uncle looks at Danny, then back at me, then back at Danny. There's no sign of the usual calm authority he has, just a weary look, like he's finally realized that his son has been the one causing the mess all along. Danny clears his throat, trying to recover some semblance of pride. This is all a misunderstanding, he says, his voice quieter than before. But even I can hear the desperation in it now, the cracks in his defense. No, Danny, I reply firmly, locking eyes with him. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is you trying to manipulate everyone around you. You've been playing the poor me act for so long, making everyone think you've got it hard, that you deserve help. But you've been using everyone, including me. Danny's mouth opens and closes, but the words don't come. His mind is spinning, searching for some way out of this mess, but there's nothing. His shoulders sag as the weight of his own actions finally hits him. The arrogance, the manipulation, the lying, it all catches up to him in this one moment. But I'm not done yet. I turn to my aunt and uncle, my tone softening just enough to show them that this is more than just about Danny's petty actions. I didn't want to have to do this in front of everyone. I say, my voice calm but firm, but you deserve to know what's been going on behind the scenes. Danny's been trying to manipulate everyone in this family for his own gain, and now he thinks he can pressure me into giving him money just because he's family. Danny's eyes widen, and I can see him panic. I didn't mean it like that. I wasn't trying to manipulate anyone. I stop. Danny, I interrupt, my voice louder now, no longer allowing him to weasel his way out. This is exactly what you do. You gaslight everyone around you into believing you're the one who's been wronged, and when that doesn't work, you use the family card to make us feel guilty. I let that sink in for a moment, letting the full weight of my words land. The silence stretches on, thick and heavy, until finally, my uncle speaks up, his voice tight with disappointment. This isn't the first time you've acted like this, is it? He asks, his eyes narrowing at Danny. Danny's jaw clenches, and he opens his mouth to protest, but my uncle holds up a hand, silencing him. You've been doing this for a while now, haven't you? Using people, playing the victim, and taking advantage of their generosity whenever it suits you. Danny doesn't respond. He can't. My uncle's words hang in the air, the final nail in the coffin of Danny's carefully constructed facade. I stand there for a moment, letting the gravity of the situation settle. It's finally over. Danny's no longer the golden child who can do no wrong. I can see the cracks in his armor, and they're only getting bigger. But before he can respond, my aunt looks at me, her eyes softening. Alex, I didn't know any of this. I'm so sorry. We should have noticed sooner. Her voice trembles, and it's clear she's struggling to reconcile the son she's known with the person standing in front of us now. Danny shoots her a desperate look, but she doesn't meet his gaze. She's seen enough. I can feel the eyes of everyone on me now, and for a moment, I wonder if I've gone too far. But then I realize, no, this needed to happen. It was long overdue. Danny's not going to get away with this, not anymore. And if that means making him face the consequences of his actions in front of everyone, then so be it. The silence lingers, but now, it's not uncomfortable. It's expectant. The tension in the room is palpable, and I know this moment is one Danny will never forget. But there's one more thing I need to say, one last thing that'll make sure he understands the full weight of his actions. Just remember, Danny, I say, my voice low, family doesn't help each other by taking advantage of one another. It's about respect, honesty, and not pretending to be someone you're not when you need something. I wait for him to respond, but there's nothing left to say. The ball is in his court now, and I've made sure everyone here knows exactly who he is. But then my aunt speaks up again, her voice softer now, more apologetic. We're going to need to talk about this later, Danny. All of us. The words are final, and I know that whatever happens next, nothing will be the same. But for now, I let the weight of the silence linger. Danny finally pushes his chair back, standing up abruptly. His face is flushed, eyes wide with a mix of frustration and humiliation. He glares at me one last time, but the fire he once had is gone. It's replaced by something more painful, realization. He knows he's lost, and there's nothing he can do to fix it now. Without saying another word, he storms out of the room, slamming the door behind him. The house seems to exhale a collective breath, as if the tension in the air has been lifted. My aunt and uncle sit there, stunned into silence, processing everything that just unfolded. Alex, my uncle begins, his voice still thick with disbelief. I had no idea. I should have been paying more attention. You didn't deserve any of this. I nod, my chest tightening just a little. I don't expect anyone to know everything, Uncle Mark. But it wasn't just about the money. It was the way he's been treating me, manipulating everyone around him, thinking he could get away with it just because we're family. It had to stop. My aunt sighs, her hands trembling as she wipes her eyes. I'm so sorry, Alex. I didn't see it before. I'll make sure we talk about this, really talk about it, when Danny calms down. This family can't keep going on like this. I nod again, my gaze lingering on the door where Danny had exited. In that moment, I realize this won't be the last time this conversation comes up. But for the first time in a long while, I feel a sense of relief. It was a brutal confrontation, but it was necessary. The dinner was over after that. No one really had much to say, and I could tell my aunt and uncle needed some time to process what had just happened. I left shortly after, saying my goodbyes and heading home with a mix of emotions swirling inside me. I was angry at Danny for everything he'd done, but I also felt a strange sense of closure. In the days that followed, I didn't hear from Danny. I knew it was probably best that way. He needed time to process the fallout from his own actions. But what really hit me was how the rest of the family started to treat me. It wasn't just my aunt and uncle who were grateful for what I did. It was my cousins, my other relatives. They reached out with messages of support, thanking me for standing up to him. It felt good to know I wasn't alone in this. That I had the support of the family who'd seen what Danny had been doing behind the scenes. As for Danny, he eventually reached out, but it wasn't to apologize. He wanted something. Of course, it wasn't money. Instead, he wanted to manipulate the situation again, trying to convince me I was the one who had gone too far. He said the family would never be the same after what I did. But honestly, I didn't care. I didn't need to fix everything for him. What I did wasn't about him. It was about finally standing up for myself and showing that I wouldn't let him walk all over me anymore. Things aren't perfect. I haven't heard from him much since that last attempt, and I'm fine with that. It's not easy dealing with someone like Danny, but I've made it clear that I won't be a doormat. I'm just relieved that, for the first time in a long while, there's a sense of peace in my family. And that's the way it stands now. My question to all of you, what would you have done in my situation? Did I go too far? Or was this something that needed to happen? Let me know your thoughts, because honestly, I'm still processing everything too. I never thought Thanksgiving would be the day my family turned against me. You hear stories about money ruining relationships, about how people change when they realize you have something they don't, but I never thought it would happen to me. My name's Michael, I'm 28, and up until a few weeks ago, I had what I thought was a pretty normal, if somewhat tense, relationship with my family. I grew up in a middle-class household with my parents and my older brother, James. James is 31, but you wouldn't know it from the way he acts. He's the kind of guy who's always had an excuse for why his life isn't going the way he wants. If he lost a job, it was because his boss had it out for him. If he got dumped, it was because women only care about money. If he didn't pay someone back, well, they should have known better than to lend him anything in the first place. That kind of person. Meanwhile, I was always the quiet, responsible one. I kept my head down, worked hard, and never asked anyone for anything. It's not that I was particularly close to my family, but I still saw them on holidays, played the part of the good son, and tried to keep the peace whenever James started complaining about how unfair life was. What my family didn't know was that I had been building something for myself in secret. A few years ago, I stumbled into a business opportunity, one that, through a lot of late nights, sacrifices, and sheer persistence, turned into something far bigger than I ever imagined. I won't go into details, but let's just say that through smart investments and passive income, I had managed to accumulate over $10 million. I never flaunted it. I never bought a flashy car or a ridiculous mansion. As far as my family knew, I was just doing fine. And that's exactly how I wanted it. Then Thanksgiving happened. It started out like any other holiday, gathering forced smiles, small talk, and my mom making sure everyone knew how hard she worked to put everything together. The usual. I was sitting at the dining table, trying to mind my own business while James went on yet another rant about how expensive everything was these days. Rent was too high, wages were too low, the government was useless, on and on he went, barely stopping to breathe. At some point, my mom sighed and shook her head. "If only you had some help," she said, giving me a pointed look. "It's so unfair how some people have it easy while others struggle." I ignored it. I was used to little comments like that. Then came the moment that changed everything. After dinner, everyone was taking pictures, and my dad asked James to take one of the whole family. James grumbled, but agreed. I handed him my phone since I was sitting closest, and that was my mistake. Instead of just opening the camera app, he swiped up, either by accident or out of curiosity, I don't know. But what I do know is that he saw something he shouldn't have. One of my investment apps was still open, displaying my account balance right there on the screen. And just like that, the air in the room changed. James went silent. His expression, once filled with boredom and annoyance, twisted into something else entirely. His eyebrows shot up, his mouth parted slightly, and for a second, he looked like he wasn't sure if he was reading it correctly. Then, without warning, he turned the phone around and held it up for everyone to see. "Michael," he said, his voice dangerously calm. "What is this?" I felt my stomach drop. My mom leaned in, squinting at the screen. My dad, who had been half asleep in his chair, sat up straighter. Even my aunt, who normally stayed out of drama, was craning her neck to get a better look. James turned the phone back to himself and read the number aloud. $10 million. His voice grew louder with each word, like he couldn't believe what he was saying. A heavy silence fell over the room. Then my mom gasped. "Michael," she whispered, clutching her chest like she had just received the most shocking news of her life. "Is this real?" I wanted to snatch the phone back, to deny it, to laugh it off as some kind of mistake. But there was no point. The damage was done. James let out a short, humorless laugh and tossed the phone onto the table. "So while the rest of us are struggling, you've just been sitting on millions?" He shook his head, his voice dripping with something between disbelief and fury. "Are you serious right now?" I started, but I didn't even know what to say. James wasn't done. "You've been letting mom and dad pay for stuff when you come visit. You've been sitting there listening to me talk about how hard things are, acting like you're just some average guy. But you're a freaking millionaire." His voice rose, his hands gesturing wildly. "And you never thought to help out your own family?" My dad, normally a quiet man, folded his arms and nodded. "Yeah, Michael." My mom's face twisted in disappointment. "We've always been there for you," she said, her voice thick with something between hurt and accusation. "And you didn't think to share?" I could feel the pressure building in the room. It was like I was suddenly a stranger in my own family, like they were seeing me through an entirely different lens. James sat back in his chair and let out a slow breath. Then he looked me dead in the eye and said the words that would set everything in motion. "You owe me." I blinked. "What?" He crossed his arms. "You owe me." He said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "You know I've been struggling. You know I could use the money way more than you. And you just sat there and let me suffer." I glanced around the room, looking for someone, anyone who might see how ridiculous this was. But instead of support, all I saw were expectant faces. "James is right," my mom said softly. "You don't need all of that, Michael. Not when your own brother is struggling." I felt a knot form in my stomach. This wasn't just shock anymore. This was something deeper. Something uglier. James smirked, like he could already see me giving in. So, he said, leaning forward, how much are you giving me? I stared at him, my heart pounding in my chest. The audacity. The sheer entitlement. James wasn't asking. He was demanding. And what was worse, my family wasn't shutting him down. They were waiting, expecting me to comply, like it was some foregone conclusion that I'd just hand over my hard-earned money because James decided he deserved it more. I took a slow breath, trying to keep my voice steady. I don't owe you anything. The room went still. James' smirk faded. My mom gasped like I had just slapped her across the face. My dad's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing. James let out a sharp laugh, shaking his head. Are you serious right now? His voice was laced with disbelief, but underneath, I could hear the anger bubbling up. Yes, I said firmly. I worked for this. I built it. You don't get to demand a cut just because you think life is unfair. James scoffed. Built it? Oh, give me a break. What? You worked a couple of desk jobs and got lucky with some investments. That's not building anything. He leaned forward, jabbing a finger in my direction. Meanwhile, I've been busting my ass for years. No, I cut in, my patience wearing thin. You've been making excuses for years. His eyes flared. You've had jobs, I continued. You've had opportunities. But every single time, you either quit, got fired, or spent your money on stupid stuff instead of being responsible. And now you want me to clean up your mess? No, absolutely not. James' face turned red. You think you're better than me, huh? I think I made better choices than you, I said bluntly. My mom let out a wounded sigh. Michael, honey, you don't understand how hard James has had it. I snapped my head toward her. Hard? Mom, he's 31. He had the same start I did. He had help from you and Dad. He blew it. That's not my fault. James pushed himself up from his chair so fast it scraped loudly against the floor. Unbelievable, he muttered, pacing the room. You're actually gonna sit there, with $10 million in your account, and act like you can't help your own family? I gritted my teeth. It's not about helping. It's about you thinking you're entitled to it. James let out a humorless laugh. Wow. Just, wow. He turned to my parents, motioning toward me like I was some kind of freak of nature. Do you hear him? Do you see how selfish he is? My mom shook her head, disappointment etched into her face. I just don't understand, Michael. We raised you better than this. I clenched my fists under the table. You raised me to be responsible, to work hard, to take care of myself. I exhaled sharply, trying to keep my temper in check, not to be an ATM for people who refuse to do the same. James stopped pacing and turned to me with an ugly sneer. You know what? Fine. Keep your stupid money. See what happens when you need family one day. I let out a dry chuckle. Yeah? And when exactly has family ever been there for me, James? That shut him up. Because the truth was, I never once asked them for help. Not when I was struggling to pay rent in my early 20s. Not when I was pulling all-nighters, working 2 jobs while trying to build something for myself. Not once. And yet, the moment they found out I had money, they expected me to give it up. The silence in the room was heavy. My dad shifted uncomfortably, looking like he wanted to say something but thinking better of it. My mom just shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. Though whether they were from sadness or sheer disappointment, I couldn't tell. James, however, wasn't done. You know what? He said suddenly, his voice calmer now, too calm. You're right. You don't owe me anything. I eyed him warily. Glad you finally understand. He smiled. A slow, unsettling smile. But you do owe Mom and Dad. My stomach dropped. And just like that, the guilt-tripping shifted. My mom's lip trembled. We did everything for you, Michael. Her voice was soft now, filled with hurt. We put food on the table. We gave you a home. We sacrificed so much to make sure you had a good life. Oh, here we go. I let out a slow breath, bracing myself. Mom, she wiped at her eyes, shaking her head. And now, when you have more than enough to help the people who raised you, you just refuse? My dad, who had been silent for most of the conversation, finally spoke up. We're not getting any younger, Michael. Some support would be nice. James folded his arms, smirking like he had just played the winning card. Yeah, Mike. What kind of son wouldn't take care of his parents? Unbelievable. I knew exactly what they were doing. They realized the whole, help your struggling brother, angle wasn't going to work, so now they were pivoting, turning it into a you're a bad son argument, trying to manipulate me into guilt-tripping myself. I forced myself to stay calm. I appreciate everything you've done for me, I said slowly. But you don't get to turn that into a bill. Parenting isn't a loan expecting repayment. James scoffed. So that's it? You're just gonna hoard all that money and let mom and dad struggle? Struggle? They weren't struggling. They had a perfectly fine house. My dad was retired. My mom still had a part-time job that she enjoyed. They weren't exactly living in luxury, but they weren't scraping by either. This wasn't about necessity. This was about greed. And the way James was grinning told me he thought he had one. That this new angle was going to break me down. He had no idea who he was dealing with. I looked around the table, taking in the faces of my family, the people I had spent my entire life thinking I could trust. Then I made my decision. I stood up, pushed my chair in, picked up my phone from the table and slid it into my pocket. And then I turned to James. You want to know how much I'm giving you? I asked, my voice eerily calm. His grin widened. That's more like it. I smirked. Nothing. James' face fell. And before he could start screaming, before my mom could launch into another guilt trip, before my dad could even open his mouth, I turned and walked straight out the door. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I barely made it to my car before my phone started blowing up. At first, it was just the family group chat. My mom, my dad, and James all firing off messages one after another. Mom texted, Michael, please come back inside. We need to talk about this. Dad texted, don't do something you'll regret. Family is everything. James texted, you're a selfish piece of garbage. You actually think you're better than us? You're nothing without this family? You hear me? I stared at the messages, a cold knot forming in my stomach. I had expected them to be upset, sure. But something about James' last message sent a shiver down my spine. I locked my phone and started the engine. They weren't getting a response. Not tonight. But when I got home, I realized they weren't just stopping at text messages. The first thing I saw when I opened my phone again was a notification from social media. Mom tagged me in a post. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Against my better judgment, I clicked on it. And there it was. A long, dramatic post, written in the way only an entitled parent could. It breaks my heart to say this, but sometimes, the people we love the most can hurt us the deepest. We've always done everything we could for our son, Michael. We raised him with love, gave him everything we had, and supported him no matter what. But now that he's successful, now that he has more than enough to help his own family, he has chosen greed over love. Imagine finding out your own son is a multimillionaire and refuses to help his struggling parents and brother, despite everything we've done for him. We never raised him to be this selfish. I don't know where we went wrong. I'm absolutely devastated. She even had the nerve to add a sad face emoji at the end. And it was already blowing up. Dozens of comments flooded in from distant relatives, old family friends, and even people I barely remembered from high school. Oh my God, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Some people just forget where they came from once they get money. That is disgusting. You did everything for him, and this is how he repays you. Michael should be ashamed of himself. Family comes first. And of course, the one that really got under my skin. He probably thinks he's better than the rest of you now that he has money. Typical. I clenched my jaw. Unbelievable. She had twisted the story so perfectly, painting herself and James as helpless victims while making me look like some greedy monster who had abandoned his poor, suffering family. And James? Oh, he was loving it. He had commented under her post, "It's okay, Mom. Some people just show their true colors when money gets involved. Guess I never really had a brother after all." I exhaled sharply through my nose, trying to keep my temper in check. Oh, they wanted to play dirty? Fine. Let's play. I took a screenshot of the post. Then, I started typing. Funny how my family never once cared about my work, my struggles, or the years I spent building something from the ground up. But the second they find out I have money, suddenly I'm nothing more than a bank account to them. I said no to giving my entitled brother a handout, and now they're trying to manipulate the entire internet into believing I'm a bad son. You want the truth? Let's talk about the truth. I hit post, and that was just the beginning. I barely had time to process the chaos unfolding online before there was a furious pounding at my front door. I knew who it was before I even checked the peephole. James. And he wasn't alone. My parents stood behind him, my mother clutching her phone like it was a lifeline, my father standing there with that familiar disapproving glare, the one he always gave me whenever I didn't fall in line. I debated ignoring them, pretending I wasn't home, but the pounding got louder. Then James started shouting, "Open the door. Michael, be a man and face us." I sighed, running a hand down my face. Fine, let's get this over with. I swung the door open and immediately, my mother launched into her performance. "Michael, I can't believe you'd humiliate us like this. How could you post something like that? Do you have any idea what people are saying about us now? I let out a short laugh. Oh, now you care about what people are saying? Maybe you should have thought of that before you blasted me all over social media. She gasped like I'd slapped her. I only told the truth. Unlike you, who's been keeping secrets from your own family. Do you know how much that hurt us, finding out the way we did? And instead of apologizing, you throw a tantrum online. I crossed my arms. You mean I defended myself after you tried to turn everyone against me? Yeah, I'm not sorry for that. James stepped forward, shoving a finger in my face. You think you're better than us, huh? Just because you got lucky and made some money? You wouldn't even have anything if it weren't for us. We raised you, supported you. I cut him off. You supported me? With what? Your ability to sit on the couch all day? The only thing you've ever done for me is demand handouts. His face turned red. You ungrateful little enough, I said, my voice low but firm. I'm done with this. I'm done with you. You all made it very clear tonight that I'm nothing but a paycheck to you. So fine. If all you care about is money, here. I reached into my pocket, pulled out a single penny, and flicked it at James. It hit his chest and clattered onto the floor. There's your cut. His eyes widened in disbelief. You think this is funny? A little, I admitted. My father's face twisted in disgust. Michael, you're making a mistake. Family is all you have in this world. I met his gaze, feeling a strange sense of calm wash over me. No, you made a mistake. You showed me exactly who you are. And now I'm returning the favor. I stepped back into my house and started closing the door. Don't call. Don't text. Don't show up here again. We're done. My mother's voice wavered. Michael, wait. I shut the door, locked it, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly free. It's been 6 months since that night, and honestly, cutting them off was the best decision I've ever made. At first, they didn't take me seriously. My mom sent guilt-trippy messages about how a mother's love is unconditional and how she would always forgive me if I just did the right thing. Translation, handed over my money. James kept sending angry texts, alternating between calling me selfish and trying to give me one last chance to make things right. My dad, as expected, played the disappointed patriarch, sending a single text. You'll regret this someday. I ignored them all. Then the escalation started. Relatives I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly crawled out of the woodwork, sending me long-winded messages about family duty and how I was the one being immature for refusing to help those in need. A few of them got aggressive, calling me a traitor, a disgrace, and every other name in the book. Someone, I'm guessing my mother, tried to log into one of my accounts, probably hoping to redistribute my wealth for me. Luckily, I had two-factor authentication on everything. When they realized I wasn't budging, they went nuclear. James posted a dramatic final message on social media, calling me a soulless sellout who abandoned his own family for greed. My mom made another long post about how she was praying for me to find my way back to the people who truly loved me. Some of my more distant relatives ate it up, commenting things like, "Stay strong, Mama, he'll come back when he realizes money can't buy happiness." But I didn't respond. I just let them scream into the void. Eventually, they got bored. The texts slowed. The social media posts stopped. And life moved on. So where am I now? I'm happy. Really, truly happy. Without their constant negativity weighing me down, I've been able to focus on myself, my goals, and the people in my life who actually care about me, not just my bank account. I even took a trip overseas, something I'd always wanted to do, but never felt free enough to actually go through with. Turns out, life is a whole lot brighter when you're not surrounded by people trying to drain the life and money out of you. And James? Last I heard, he's still exactly where I left him, complaining about how unfair life is, waiting for someone else to fix his problems. So what do you guys think? Was I too harsh? Or did they get exactly what they deserved? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts.